It was a Tuesday evening, the kind where the Raleigh humidity clings to your skin like a bad memory, and I was hunched over our kitchen table, staring at a bank statement that hit like a sucker punch. My name's Noah Bennett, 38, a high school history teacher who spent the last decade trying to build a life with my wife Megan. That statement showed our savings account, $62,000 we'd scraped together for a bigger house. Maybe a kid someday wiped clean. Zero balance, like it never existed. I heard Megan's keys jingle as she walked in, her designer purse swinging one I didn't remember buying. "Megan," I said, holding up the paper, my voice steady despite the knot in my gut. "What happened to our money?" Her eyes narrowed, lips curling into a sneer. "I don't owe you an explanation, Noah. You're always so damn controlling. Keep this up, and I'm done. Divorce papers, Noah, that's what's coming." She stormed out, her heels echoing on the hardwood I'd spent last summer refinishing, leaving me with a ringing silence and a threat that felt like a blade to the chest. Divorce. For asking about our life savings. My hands shook, but something else sparked focus, cold and sharp. I wasn't letting this go. Megan and I met in 2012 at a friend's wedding in Durham, under a tent strung with fairy lights. I was 26, fresh from grad school teaching history at Lincoln High. She was 24, a graphic designer with a laugh that could pull you out of the darkest day. We bonded over terrible dance moves and a shared love of dive bar tacos. 6 months later, I proposed on a whim during a hike in the Blue Ridge Mountains. She said yes before I finished the question. We married in a small chapel, her dad walking her down the aisle, my mom crying in the front row. Megan was my anchor, the one who would stay up late helping me grade papers, who'd sketch house plans on napkins, dreaming of a porch swing and a nursery. We weren't rich. My teacher's salary and her freelance gigs kept us modest, but we were disciplined, saving every bonus, every tax refund for that future. Or so I thought. The cracks started showing about a year ago, small at first, like hairlines and glass. Megan took on big projects at her design firm, working late coming home with perfume. I didn't recognize her, phone always face down buzzing with texts she'd swipe away. New clothes appeared, silk blouses, leather jackets, way beyond our budget. I'd ask about her day, she'd snap, "It's fine." Noah, God, and pivot to her phone. I didn't push. My dad, a retired cop who'd seen every kind of lie, taught me to wait to watch, to be sure before acting. But that empty account wasn't subtle. It was a siren screaming betrayal. I sat there, the kitchen clock ticking, and made a choice. I'd find the truth, no matter how ugly. I didn't chase Megan that night. Instead, I opened my laptop, logged into our bank's portal, and scrolled through 6 months of transactions. Transfers, dozens of them, starting small, 200, 500, then ballooning to 10,000, 15,000, all to an account I didn't know. The final one, 30,000, was dated 2 days ago. My pulse hammered as I printed every page the printer's hum, the only sound in the house. I called the bank, got a rep named Linda, her voice tired but polite. "Mr. Bennett, the transfers were authorized by an account holder," she said. "Your wife's name is on the account, correct?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, it is." I hung up, staring at the Grand Canyon photo on our wall, Megan's smile, my arm around her. Was any of it real anymore? Megan didn't come home that night. I texted, "We need to talk about the account." No reply. I peseta poured over bank records, my anger a fire pushing me forward. I didn't sleep. Instead, I made a plan. Step 1, protect what was left. At 8 a.m., I drove to First Carolina Bank, opened a new account in my name only, and rerouted my direct deposited paycheck. I also pulled my emergency fund, $8,000 I'd stashed in a separate savings account. Megan didn't know about, a habit from Dad's advice. Always have an exit strategy. Step 2, get answers. I called Chris, an IT guy who'd set up our home Wi-Fi, a buddy from my college days who could hack a vending machine if you dared him. "Can you trace where money's going from a bank account?" I asked, pacing my living room. He hesitated. "That's gray area, man. But I know a guy. Text me the account number." While Chris dug, Megan texted, "I'm at a friend's. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I didn't reply. Instead, I checked our home security system. A budget setup with cameras I'd installed after a neighbor's car got jacked. Megan called them paranoid, rolled her eyes every time they beeped. Thank God I kept them. The footage from the past month showed her slipping in and out at weird hours, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., sometimes with a guy I didn't know, tall, slick hair, black, BMW cocky swagger. My stomach twisted, but I saved every clip to a USB drive, my hands steady despite the rage bubbling inside. Megan showed up the next evening while I was grabbing clothes from our bedroom, her eyes like ice. "You're making this so hard." "Noah," she said, tossing her hair, her voice sharp enough to cut. "I took the money because you never cared about my dreams. You're so damn selfish, always playing the martyr. I stared, disbelief choking me. Selfish. I worked overtime for that savings, Megan. For us. She laughed cold and cruel. Us. There's no us. Derek showed me what a real man does. Takes charge, not whines like you. She grabbed our wedding photo from the nightstand, smashed it on the floor, glass, shattering like my heart. Sign the divorce papers or I'll make sure everyone knows what a pathetic failure you are. She stormed out, leaving the broken frame and my resolve stronger than ever. Word spread like wildfire at Lincoln High. Paul, a smug math teacher with a chip on his shoulder, cornered me in the staff room, his grin vicious. Heard your wife's shacking up with some hotshot Noah, he said loud enough for the room to hear. Took all your money too. Damn, that's rough. Guess you're not as perfect as you act. Other teachers glanced over. Some snickered, others looked away, their pity worse than the laughs. I tried to shrug it off, but Paul kept going. Maybe if you weren't so boring, she'd have stayed. Bet she's living it up now. My chest tightened, humiliation burning through me. I left the room, their laughter trailing like a shadow, but I vowed to prove them wrong. That night, I pored over bank records, my anger a fire pushing me forward. Chris called 2 days later, his voice tense. Got something. The money's going to a guy named Derek Walsh. Accounts tied to Walsh Consulting. But it's a ghost, barely any online presence, no physical address. I dug deeper. Derek's got a rap sheet fraud charges in 2018 dropped for lack of evidence. You know him? The name was a knife in my gut. I didn't, but I would. I thanked Chris and called my sister Allison, a paralegal at a divorce firm. Her voice all business when I laid it out. Noah, this is bad. You need a lawyer yesterday? Don't confront her. Build your case first. She gave me the number for Rebecca, her boss a shark in heels who'd seen every dirty trick in the book. Rebecca met me at a coffee shop downtown, her eyes scanning the bank statements and security clips like a general reading a battlefield. You've kept your head. Noah, that's good, she said, sipping black coffee. This Derek Walsh, he's poison. I've heard whispers shady deals targeting women with busy or deployed husbands. Megan might be in on it, or she's his mark. Either way, we'll lock down your assets and dig deeper. She told me to freeze our joint credit cards, which I did by noon, and to file a police report for the unauthorized transfers, since my signature wasn't on them. It's a long shot, she said, but it sets the stage. The police station was a fluorescent-lit nightmare. Officer Harris, a grizzled guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, took my statement with a sigh. Mr. Bennett, if her name's on the account, it's not theft. Civil matter, not criminal. I slid the USB drive across his desk, showed him Derek in our driveway, Megan laughing beside him. His eyebrows twitched. All right, that's something. We'll run this Walsh guy. I left with a mix of hope and dread, the weight of betrayal heavier than ever. That night, Megan called her voice venomous. You froze the cards. What the hell, Noah? You're trying to ruin me. I kept my voice flat. You emptied our savings, Megan. I'm protecting what's left. She laughed bitter and sharp. You're pathetic. Derek was right. You're nothing. Click. She hung up. Derek. The name was a match to my fuse. A week later, Derek Walsh showed up at my school, leaning against my Civic like he owned it, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Heard you're stirring trouble, Teach, he sneered, flicking the butt at my feet. Megan's right. You're a loser clinging to a marriage she's done with. Think you're clever freezing accounts. I'll bleed you dry and you'll be begging for scraps. Students watched from classroom windows, their whispers like needles. My fists clenched, but I held steady. Get off my car, Derek. He stepped closer, his breath reeking of nicotine. Or what? You'll bore me to death with history facts. Pathetic. He spat on the ground, sauntered off, leaving me shaking with rage. The kid's stares burning holes in my pride. I drove home, his words looping, fueling my fire. I barely slept that night, the betrayal gnawing at me. The next morning, Officer Harris called, his tone clipped. Ran Walsh. He's got a warrant in Virginia for check fraud. Spotted his BMW at a motel off I-40. We're watching him. My heart pounded. And Megan? A pause. She's with him. Looks cozy. Sorry, man. I thanked him, hung up, my mind spinning. Cozy. The word was a blade, but it sharpened my focus. This wasn't just about money. This was a calculated gutting of my life. Desperate for an ally, I called Greg, my college buddy, who'd always had my back, or so I thought. We'd shared late-night study sessions, stood up at each other's weddings. I spilled everything, Megan, the savings, Derek. He listened, then dropped a bomb. Noah, maybe you pushed her too hard, man. Women like Megan need excitement, not your predictable routine. I froze, gut-punched. You're blaming me. He sighed like I was the idiot. I ran into Megan and Derek at a bar last week. They're happy, man. Let it go. You're not winning this. My jaw locked. Greg, who'd toasted our future, was siding with them, dismissing me like trash. I hung up his betrayal sharper than Megan's, another piece of my world crumbling. Rebecca called that afternoon, her voice all business. Good news, bad news. Good. I got a judge to freeze any further transfers from Walsh's account. Bad. Most of the $62,000 is gone funneled to offshore accounts we can't touch yet. We're filing for fraud and identity theft. And I've got a PI on Walsh's trail. She paused, her tone darkening. Noah, there's more. Megan applied for a home equity loan on your house last month. Your signature's on it, but it's likely forged. I gripped the phone, my voice tight. She's trying to take the house. Rebecca didn't sugarcoat it. Looks like it. The loan's pending, but we flagged it as fraudulent. The bank's cooperating for now. That evening I drove past our house, parking a block away, my heart pounding. Megan's Prius sat in the driveway, Derek's BMW gleaming beside it. Rebecca had warned me to steer clear, but I needed to see. I opened the security app on my phone. Inside, Megan and Derek were in our living room, arguing, their voices crackling through the feed. You said this would be easy, Megan shouted, pacing. Now the bank's asking questions and Noah's screwing it up. Derek smirked, lounging on my couch. Relax, babe. He's a nobody teacher. We'll sell the house, cash out the equity, and be gone before he blinks. My blood ran cold. Sell the house. My house paid for. With my overtime, my sweat, my dreams. I recorded every word, sent it to Rebecca, my hands steady, despite the storm inside me. The neighborhood barbecue that weekend was supposed to be a distraction, a chance to breathe. Instead, Megan turned it into a public execution. I was flipping burgers, forcing normalcy when she strutted over with Derek, his arm draped around her like a trophy. Oh, Noah still playing house husband? She said loud enough for the whole block to hear. Neighbors smirked. Kids froze mid-game staring. Derek chuckled, his voice dripping condescension. Man, you're such a pushover. No wonder she needed a real man. My face burned, but I gripped the spatula, forcing a smile. Megan leaned in, her whisper venomous. You're embarrassing yourself, Noah. Sign the papers and let me live my life. The crowd whispered their pity worse than her words. I wanted to scream to expose her theft, but I swallowed it, my resolve hardening. That night alone, I replayed their laughter, each snicker a spark to my fire. At a community fundraiser the next week, I struck back. Derek and Megan were there, schmoozing with locals, acting untouchable. I'd tipped off a reporter through Rebecca, armed with bank records and police reports. Mid-event, the reporter cornered Derek Mice, thrust forward. Mr. Walsh, care to comment on allegations of fraud involving military families and forged loans? Derek's face drained of color. Megan froze, her wine glass trembling. The crowd hushed. I stepped forward, holding up the bank statements. He stole $62,000 from my savings, forged my signature. Check the police reports. Gasps rippled through the room. Derek stammered, this is a lie. But the reporter pressed, and the crowd's warmth turned to ice. Megan fled Derek, stumbling after their perfect facade. Shattered. I felt a rush, justice was dawning. Rebecca filed an emergency injunction the next day, blocking the home equity loan and any sale of the property. She subpoenaed Derek's business records, uncovering a pattern. He'd targeted women with deployed or overworked husbands, siphoning money, splitting profits, then vanishing. Megan wasn't his first. The PI found 2 other Raleigh women who'd lost everything. Sarah, a nurse, agreed to testify, her voice shaking. He made me think my husband was cheating, she told Rebecca. Said I deserved better. I was so stupid. I wondered if Megan was a pawn or a player, but either way, she'd chosen this. The police moved fast after the security footage. Derek's motel room was raided, yielding fake IDs, a laptop stuffed with incriminating emails, and a ledger of his scams. Megan was there, hysterical, claiming ignorance. They didn't arrest her yet, but hauled her in for questioning. I watched from across the street as she climbed into a police car, mascara streaking her face, her perfect life unraveling. Part of me wanted to ask why, to hear her explain, but I stayed put. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about truth. I was at Rebecca's office when Officer Harris called. We're arresting Walsh now. Want to see? I drove to the motel, staying out of sight. Derek was in cuffs, shouting as cops dragged him out. Megan stood outside, sobbing, pleading, Derek, tell them it's a mistake. He snapped, shut up, Megan, you idiot. Harris listed the charges: fraud, forgery, conspiracy. Neighbors gawked, whispering. I caught Megan's eye. She looked broken, but I felt no pity. Derek's empire was dust, and I'd lit the match. Driving away, I smiled, the first real one in weeks, knowing he'd rot in a cell. Rebecca called that night, her voice steady. Derek's facing multiple charges: fraud, forgery, identity theft. The DA's got a case against Megan, but it's shaky. She's claiming Derek manipulated her. We might recover some of the money, but it'll take time. I nodded, though she couldn't see. The house. Safe, she said. Loan's voided, and we've filed for sole ownership in your name, given the fraud. I exhaled, a weight lifting. Thank you, Rebecca. Megan ambushed me at school the next day, waiting by my car, eyes red, voice cracking. Noah, I messed up, she said, tears spilling. Derek lied, said you were hiding money planning to leave me. I was scared. I studied her, searching for the woman I'd loved. You emptied our savings, Megan. You let him into our home. You forged my signature. She sobbed harder. I'm sorry. Can't we fix this? I shook my head, my voice cold. You threatened divorce when I asked a question. We're done. She collapsed against the car, but I walked away, my heart heavy, but my path clear. Then came the curveball. Rebecca uncovered a new player, Claire, a loan officer at First Carolina Bank, who'd fast-tracked Megan's forged home equity loan. Claire had a history with Derek. Old emails showed they'd split profits on shady deals before. She's dirty, Rebecca said, slamming a folder on her desk. And she's stonewalling us. I met Claire at the bank, hoping to appeal to her conscience. She was all smiles, her desk cluttered with family photos, but her eyes were hard. Mr. Bennett, I followed protocol, she said, voice sugary. Your wife's signature was verified. I slid the forged documents across her desk. That's not my signature. Her smile faltered, but she doubled down. Take it up with the courts. I left furious, but Rebecca was already on it, subpoenaing Claire's records. The betrayal deepened when my older brother Evan called. We'd never been close. He was the golden child, a real estate broker in Charlotte, always chasing the next deal. I told him about Meg and Derek, the house hoping for support. Instead, he laughed cold and dismissive. Noah, you're such a sap. Megan was out of your league and you didn't see it. Derek's a hustler, sure, but he's winning. You're just you. I gripped the phone, stunned. You're my brother Evan. He snorted. And you're embarrassing the family. I had drinks with Derek last month. He's got plans for your house. Move on. I hung up, his words a fresh wound. Evan, my own blood was in Derek's corner, or at least cheering from the sidelines. The case took a darker turn when Rebecca's PI found a link between Derek and a broader network targeting military families across the Southeast. Agent Carter, an FBI veteran with a no-nonsense glare, took over, calling me to their Raleigh field office. Your case cracked it open, he said, spreading files across a conference table. Walsh has hit 14 families, same playbook, seduce the wife. Forge documents, sell the house cheap to a shell company. Claire's his inside woman at the bank. My jaw tightened. And Megan? Carter's eyes softened. She's either complicit or a victim. We're digging. I handed over every scrap bank record, security clips, Claire's emails. Get them, I said. He nodded. We will. The neighborhood whispers grew louder. My life, a public spectacle. At a PTA meeting, a parent I barely knew, Karen pulled me aside, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. Noah, we're all praying for you, but maybe it's time to let Megan go. She's moved on, and well, you're not exactly keeping up. Others nodded, their eyes pitying. I forced a smile. My pride in tatters, but inside I was done being the town's punching bag. I doubled down, meeting Rebecca daily, combing through evidence, my anger a furnace. The climax came in a Wake County courtroom, a packed gallery, buzzing with locals, reporters, and victims like Sarah. Derek's trial was a circus, his charm crumbling under cross-examination. Rebecca had built an airtight case with bank records, security footage, and Sarah's testimony painting him as a predator. Then came the bombshell. Claire, facing her own charges, flipped, testifying that Derek and Megan had planned the scam together, with Evan brokering the house sale to a shell company for a cut. The courtroom gasped. I sat frozen, my brother's betrayal, now public. Megan called. As a witness broke down, admitting she'd forged my signature, but swearing Derek coerced her. I loved Noah, she sobbed. I was scared. The jury wasn't buying it. Derek lunged at Claire during her testimony, screaming, "You lying bitch!" as bailiffs tackled him. The judge called a recess, but the damage was done. His mask was off. Megan's confession hit social media like a tsunami, Rebecca leaking the audio to a local news outlet. It went viral. Twitter, Reddit, Facebook groups, comments tearing her apart. What a snake. Noah deserves better. Her design firm fired her. Clients vanished. At school, Paul, the math teacher, approached sheepish. Didn't know the full story, man. I nodded, calm. Now you do. The world saw her for what she was, a liar, a thief, and I felt lighter, my truth reclaimed. The divorce finalized 6 months later. No fault, clean break. Megan agreed to restitution, forfeiting any claim to the house. In exchange, I didn't press charges. Derek got 7 years for fraud, conspiracy, and identity theft. Claire 3 for her role. Evan, implicated in the shell company, lost his broker's license and faced his own trial. I cut him off, his name erased from my life. I sold the house a year later. The memory's too heavy, and bought a cabin outside Asheville, 2 bedrooms, 10 acres, a creek, whispering peace. I took a job teaching history at a community college. Quieter, more my speed. I got a lab named Rusty, started woodworking, crafting tables for locals. My pension covered the rest. Megan, I heard, moved to Charlotte working retail, her dreams as broken as her lies. I didn't hate her. I didn't feel much at all. She'd chosen her path. I'd forged mine. One evening, a letter arrived from Lisa, a Durham woman whose deployed husband was targeted by Derek. The FBI gave her my name. "You saved our home," she wrote. "Your fight gave us hope." I pinned it to my fridge, a reminder of the good that came from the ashes. A year later, I started a support group for scam victims. My story, the spark. Sarah joined, then Lisa, then 8 more families, all hit by Derek's network. We worked with the FBI, recovering $200,000 of their stolen funds. At our first meeting, Lisa hugged me, tears streaming. "You gave us hope, Noah. We thought we'd lost everything." I shared my journey, the pain, the betrayal, the fight, and they listened, inspired. The group grew, featured in a news segment, Teachers Triumph Over Fraud. My name, a beacon for resilience. Each family's victory felt like mine proof that light could pierce the darkest nights. Last I heard, Derek was still caged. Megan was scraping by, and Evan was persona non grata. I was moving forward, one quiet day at a time, building something unbreakable, my life, my truth. If this story hit you hard, smash that like button, share it with your crew, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real-life tales of grit and glory. Stay fierce out there.